Welcome to the SVG-TV news for Friday, October 6th. I'm Khalil Keita with the details. Before our news, however, we want to advise our viewers that we are experiencing technical difficulties with our TV service, Channel 11 at Chester Cottage and Channel 9 at Point. This is due to a severe lightning strike on Monday night at Chester Cottage, which affected our equipment located there. Of course, we assure you that we are working towards having the TV quality service back up towards what it was before the lightning strike, and we do apologize for any inconvenience caused. In our news tonight, Minister of Tourism Carlos James met with a number of taxi operators today to discuss the new free incentive on vehicles implemented by the government and to start the process of getting them ready for this year's cruise season, which begins next month. Cabinet recently gave its approval for the taxi operators' fiscal incentives policy, which includes duty-free concession on motor vehicles used to transport visitors on excursions and other chartered operations, and the provision of taxi services within the country. At a media briefing today, Minister James explained to the taxi operators present the requirements of being eligible to receive the duty-free concession.
A brand new vehicle to a year old will receive 100% concession, duty-free concession, exempt on import duty at the port for taxi operators. Vehicles 2 to 3 years of age, 75% exemption on import duty at the ports. Vehicles ranging from 4 years to 6 years, 50% concession at the port on import duty for an excise duty for vehicles at the port. And this also includes charges that also carry VAT as well. All of these tax measures are going to be removed for taxi operators, provided you have been in the, and I'll give you the conditions for these concessions. You must have been a taxi operator at least for the last 3 years, and we have to protect the industry. We want to encourage other persons to join the industry in terms of being a taxi operator. But we don't want you to come in at the top. We want to ensure that we're providing the support for taxi men who are already plying their trade in the industry. So you have had to establish that you've been a taxi operator for the last 3 years. You have to ensure that you're in good standing in terms of your license and all of your taxes with the Inland Revenue Department, the National Insurance Services. All vehicles must be used primarily for the provision of transportation services for tows and general taxi service around St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Over 100 Vincentian applicants were shortlisted out of 675 as part of the MSC Mediterranean Shipping Company recruitment drive, which will be held next Monday and Tuesday. At today's news briefing, the Tourism Minister expressed best wishes to those who have been shortlisted for next week's recruitment drive, noting that he will be out of state to attend the Caribbean Tourism Organization's CTO State of the Tourism Industry Conference in the Turks and Caicos Islands.
And because of the 2 short days in which they're coming to St. Vincent to facilitate the recruitment drive, they have asked for a short list of roughly 100 or so persons. I am hoping that those 100 plus persons will put their best foot forward, will show the recruiters what St. Vincent and the Grenadines' hospitality is about and what it is like. And of course, if those 100 persons are recruited, next year they have given the assurance that they will take the full list of the 674 or 5 persons and try to get another recruitment drive going again for those persons who have applied. And we, of course, will extend this again open to the public. But these are the things that are happening in tourism. 100 persons will go off.
And the Ministry of Tourism is expecting 377 calls this season, which is said to be a major increase over the last year. Minister James said this year will see a 17.5% increase over last year's cruise call.
We saw 311 calls last year, which in fact was a record year for us in cruise calls. And when I made that announcement last year, there were persons who were quite uncertain as to whether or not we will hit that target. But we did in fact record a record year last year in cruise calls, cruise visits to St. Vincent and the Grenadines, 311. And the year prior to that, where we had an exceptional year in terms of our base numbers, the benchmark year, which I normally term, is 2019, which is pre-COVID pandemic. And I look at the numbers and the science behind the numbers and where we are to go and how we need to improve. And in 2019, we had 234 calls to St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So we broke the benchmark here in 2019 last year with 311, and this year we have eclipsed the record year, which was last year. We're now 377. And in percentage terms, that is a 17.5% increase over last year's cruise calls, and it is a 37.9, roughly a 38%, increase over the 2019 cruise calls, which in fact was the benchmark year we had set as the year when we really had a lot of flights coming in and a lot of cruise calls to St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
The cruise season starts on November 1st, and according to Minister James, the calls will be shared between Port Kingstown and the Grenadine Islands.
This year we are now over 116 calls in terms of large vessels to Port Kingston for the 2023-2024 season. 100 calls to Beckwith, 28 calls to Union Island, 67 calls to Mairo, 61 calls to Tobago Keys, and 5 calls to Canawan. So what we have essentially is an overall increase in calls across the entire destinations where ports are concerned. So I'm really happy to see those numbers, and we can really see Port Kingston seeing an increase in calls this year.
A total of 4,551 persons across the country are currently on the government's public assistance program, which includes 1,906 males and 2,645 females. This information, along with a breakdown of the figures by constituencies, were given by Minister of National Mobilization Dr. Orlando Brewster while responding to a question in Parliament this week by Opposition Senator Israel Bruce on the number of persons on public assistance in the country as of July 30th this year. Minister Brewster, who was also asked to outline the eligibility criteria to be enrolled on the public assistance program, said it includes an average household income of less than $500 EC monthly.
However, in addition to the income requirement is a social condition requirement of the family or household. This will include families who are affected by social issues related to disability of some form or the other, families with elderly over the age of 65, and I will clarify the elderly in a bit, families who have persons suffering with chronic illnesses or illness, persons who are medically unfit for work. But Madam Speaker, I must caution that those who are chronically ill and those who are medically unfit for work, this must be supported with a legitimate doctor's certificate. Because from time to time, persons will just run by a doctor friend and say, well, I need something to be placed on public assistance. And a potential beneficiary, as I said before, as it relates to age, must be over the age of 65 for them to be placed on an elderly grant. And this is done to an elderly person without NIS benefits or those who receive NIS benefits under the threshold of $300 EC.
On the process that is currently in place, the smooth and seamless registration of persons who are entitled and desirous to receive public assistance from the government of SVG, the government minister said potential applicants can be referred from the main office in Kingstown, any of its district offices, or through the respective board members in the various constituencies. This country stands to benefit tremendously from a memorandum of understandings signed between the governments of SVG, Grenada and St. Lucia in relation to agriculture cooperation and fisheries. This is according to Minister of Agriculture Suboto Caesar, who was responding to a question in Parliament this week on the MOUs. Minister Caesar noted that at the recently held meeting of the Council of Ministers of Agriculture in Grenada, he took the opportunity to sign an MOU with the government there, noting that the 10-year agreement which was in place had ran its course and they wanted it to be renewed. According to Minister Caesar, it was on this platform of the agreement that SVG started to export livestock to Grenada, and SVG in return received significant support in sea moss production and the establishment of a cocoa condiments and spices subsector. The minister also used the opportunity to outline the central pillars of the agreement.
1. To enhance production capacity in agriculture and fisheries. 2. To strengthen trade. 3. To improve agriculture, food and nutrition security to benefit both countries. 4. Technical assistance and support in the area of cocoa, condiments and spices. 5. Technical advice on the development of a modern tuna fishery here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. As we are aware, there is a well-established tuna fishery in Grenada. And 6, the export market for several commodities from St. Vincent and the Grenadines, including livestock and imports from Grenada. To identify what are the major benefits, well, I think it's implicit in the central pillars that we're going to see an increase in trade. We are going to see farmers working together, also non-state actors in the agriculture and fisheries sector. It also creates a platform for technicians to work together. When you go to Grenada and you have a conversation about agriculture and food production, we are seeing the tenets of the revised Treaty of Basseterre in full flight. Persons are aware of the cooperation between both countries, and I am encouraging persons in the private sector in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, persons who are addressing issues of the imports of spices and are looking for greater support in cocoa and also in fisheries, that we have to see it as a union, because it is an economic union.
Minister Caesar also told Parliament that a similar MOU was signed with the government of St. Lucia.
And we are going to see in the not too distant future entrepreneurs from St. Lucia who will be operating in St. Vincent and the Grenadines to address issues of agriculture, development and fisheries. And we also will be having persons from St. Vincent and the Grenadines who are interested to go to St. Lucia to participate in the development and further enhancement of the agriculture sector there. So this is something that is going to take place across borders. I know from time to time you would hear the discussion on the radio about St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We're sending cattle to Grenada and different items moving across borders. I don't pay a lot of attention to that. It's a passing discussion. But what we are doing here is that we are ramping up our production so that we have food security and food sovereignty in our country. We cannot look at producing food only for St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Yesterday, I saw the vessel leaving St. Vincent and the Grenadines loaded with food to go to Barbados. And a lot of persons don't know that every Monday at about 2 o'clock, there's a vessel leaving from St. Vincent and the Grenadines to go to Barbados to take food. And about 12 o'clock, there's one going to Trinidad and Tobago. And I really want to compliment and commend our farmers, even when we had the volcanic eruptions, Madam Speaker. Farmers went into their fields and ensured that they worked with the traffickers to send food to other islands. St. Vincent and the Grenadines, I'm proud, we are the food basket of the Southern Caribbean. And we do this with the assistance of our farmers and our.
In a supplementary question from the opposition senator on what policies or measures does the Ministry of Agriculture have in place to ensure local businesses do not suffer a shortage of materials to assist with their production, Minister Caesar replied that in every budget, the government ensures resources are allotted to increase the technical capacity of the Animal Health Division in the ministry so that they can increase production and productivity.
So much so, we went into an agreement with the governments of Jamaica and also Cuba, where we brought from Cuba a vet who is a specialist in animal production, Dr. Sol, came to St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and we brought semen from Jamaica, and we had a national artificial insemination program throughout the whole country. And the farmers who are listening, they are fully aware of these issues. As we speak, we have about 2,000 applications in for support under the World Bank project that will be rolled out over the next 8 months. And in that, there's significant support for the improvement of animals. I am happy for this supplementary question because it allows me to say that within a month, 2 jet loads of animals will be brought into this country to assist the livestock producers so that we can better position ourselves to export. And I will not allow anybody to chastise the good work of our farmers by having a little radio discussion playing on propaganda to say Sabi sending away all the animals, simpliciter. Well, there are simple minds that will speak about these things. But I have confidence that persons who are listening are aware of the opportunities.
The Ministry of Agriculture has announced that from Monday, livestock farmers can register to receive subsidies on a 1-week supply of feed every fortnight. According to Chief Veterinary Officer Dr. Kathy-Ann Hackshaw, farmers are required to register and obtain a voucher which will be used to purchase the feeds at the discounted prices at the Eastern Caribbean Group of Companies, ECGC. The deduction in prices are as follows. $10 off each sack of poultry feed, $12 off each sack of pig feed, and $8 off each sack of general purpose feed. Livestock farmers are advised to register at the following locations and times: the Veterinary Division at the Ministry of Agriculture, the Newgrounds, Dumbarton, Wallalooboo, and Rivulet Agricultural Stations, as well as the Orange Hill Biotechnology Center from Monday, October 9th to Thursday, October 12th from 9 a.m. to 12 noon. Farmers should take along their farmer's identification card. The ministry says farmers will be called to collect the vouchers when they are processed. The death of 67-year-old Kenneth Mervyn Alexander Samuel, who was discovered at the Leawood bus terminal on Monday, is as a result of natural causes. Police say a post-mortem examination was conducted yesterday at the Kingstown mortuary, and the pathologist ruled the cause of death to be acute respiratory failure or failure of the lungs. Police say accordingly there will be no criminal probe into the matter. Police Inspector Curtis Clark, who is attached to the fire department of the RSVG police force, is urging persons to desist from vandalizing or stealing fire hydrants which have been placed in strategic locations island-wide as a life-saving tool. Inspector Clark made the appeal during the COP Chat program on WeFM yesterday on the topic Care and Management of Fire Hydrants in SVG.
Access. In terms of access to these fire hydrants, we really need to have things in place because you will see a lot of people parking along and where fire hydrant is located, and you're looking for the driver. You cannot find the driver to get a vehicle to be removed from there. And it is an obstruction in respect to firefighting. And I want to encourage persons when it comes to that please avoid from blocking the fire hydrants, because you never know where the fire may be and we need to replenish our water source. It can be your house. or somebody that's very close to you.
Or your
And-
business.
Yes, or your business. And real time is the best time. We have to be quick in replenishing our supply so we can get back to that fire scene.
Inspector Clark also dismissed claims that fire trucks are going to fire scenes without water, while Assistant Superintendent of Police Ronald Benjamin said there is, however, a need for more fire stations across the country to respond to fires.
Say on that is sometimes the fire truck responded to a fire scene, and when they get there and they start to operate, because of the pressure on the pump, it can disperse the water in at least 5 minutes. You could imagine 500 gallons of water being dispersed in 5 to 7 minutes. There's a quick rate of disperse.
Okay.
And somebody came late on that scene and see the fire truck operating, and they have to leave to go and replenish their source. They figure, oh, they come without water.
Oh, okay. I see how that could happen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we have fire stations on the mainland. We have in Kingston and Georgetown. Right? And we cover the airports, except for Mustique.
Okay.
All right. But we are working in that direction to have more fire stations being erected on mainland St. Vincent.
Okay.
Right? We have dialogue and so on, and we send forth proposals.
Okay.
So we are working in that direction.
The Indian community of St. Vincent and the Grenadines and those in the diaspora will commemorate the 16th anniversary of Indian Heritage Day tomorrow, which was recognized by an Act of Parliament on March 26, 2007. President of the Indian Heritage Foundation, Junior Bacchus, is encouraging Indians who are Seventh-day Adventists to commemorate the day during their respective church services and to wear Indian attire to recognize Indian Heritage Day.
We encourage those who may not be going to church, who are doing other things, eat something Indian. Eat your roti or your doubles, whatever, Indian food, some curry, something, and commemorate the day in your own special way. So, but next year, we are definitely going to be able to go back to a big celebration where we will be hosting Indians coming in and where the country will be mobilized to celebrate on that day.
Noting that the SVG Indian Heritage Foundation has endeavored over the past 17 years of its existence to preserve the identity of their ancestors. Bacchus said it is their hope that in the next 5 years, the Indian community of SVG will have a designated park.
Fairly young as a foundation. We just started in 2006. And we are building on what we have been able to accomplish. 5 years from now, we hope that we should be able to see a heritage park or a heritage site for Indians. We have been lobbying the government for the land. There's a piece of land in Argyle that was identified by the foundation. When the government were acquiring lands for the Argyle airport, they have identified an area of land where they will share with the Indians and the Caribs, where they will have heritage park. So that is something we have been working on. So I hope in 5 years we could accomplish it.
Bacchus said one of the many achievements they are proud of in recent times is the launch of a genealogy website on June 1st, which provides them with a platform to trace their ancestors back to India.
Many of us may not even be aware that we have some Indian blood in us, because as a people, we all mix up in many ways. If you check back your family history. Actually, we had launched last year a genealogy website where the Indians can go to that site and identify and trace their whole history and get to know where in India their blood might have been coming from. So we have a genealogy site put together by 4 members of the foundation living abroad, and it is open to the public to go on the site and see where they will find themselves in terms of their genealogy. We have collaborated with the Indians in Fiji, because a lot of Indians from India went to Fiji, similarly like us, and in the Pacific to work on estates as well. So we have been collaborating around the world with the organizations, and we encourage persons to do the history, learn the history, and they become more aware of where we came from.